Your Honor, my father said, standing 3 feet away from me like I was evidence instead of his daughter, I am asking the court to remove Ava from our home today. The courtroom went so still I could hear the hum of the lights. I sat at the respondent table in a borrowed gray cardigan that hung past my wrists, my fingers locked together under the desk so no one would see them shaking. My mother sat beside my father with a tissue pressed to her mouth, nodding before the judge even asked her anything. She's violent, my father continued. Unstable. We've tried everything. I'm done being terrorized in my own house. My throat tightened. That's not. Ava, he said gently, like he was protecting everyone from me. Please don't do this here. The judge looked down at the file. The foster placement officer shifted forward. My advocate, a woman I had met less than an hour earlier, opened her thin folder like she was already behind. Then the judge closed the file. Before this goes any further, he said, I need to know one thing. And my father's face went pale. He had looked calm the entire morning.
Calm when he signed us in.
Calm when he told the clerk this was an emergency. Calm when he handed over the packet of screenshots, school emails, and the report saying I had shoved my mother into the kitchen counter. But when the judge said that one sentence, something changed. My father's hand tightened around my mother's. She stopped dabbing her eyes and stared at the floor. I looked at the judge, then at the file, and that was when I saw it. On top of the paperwork was a printed text message I had supposedly sent my father at 11:43 p.m. I'm going to make you both sorry. My stomach dropped. Because at 11:43 p.m. that night, my phone had not been in my room. It had not been in my pocket. It had not been anywhere near me. My father had locked it in his truck. I leaned toward my advocate and whispered, That text isn't mine. She turned slightly. What? My phone. He had it. Across the room, my father's eyes snapped to me, sharp enough to make my mouth close. The judge did not miss it. He looked directly at my father and asked, Mr. Mitchell, why did you request emergency removal only 2 days after your daughter asked her school counselor about a trust account? Before we continue, drop your city and country in the comments below. And if you enjoy revenge stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. My father froze. It was barely a second, but I saw it. His shoulders lifted, his jaw locked, and the calm expression he had worn since we entered the courthouse cracked at the edges. Then he smiled. Your Honor, he said, Ava gets confused. She overhears adult conversations and twists them into stories. There is no trust account that concerns her. My mother lowered her eyes. I watched her thumb rub circles over her wedding ring. Back and forth. Back and forth. She had done the same thing 3 nights earlier, standing in the hallway outside my bedroom while my father held the envelope I had found in the kitchen drawer. I had only been looking for allergy medicine. Instead, behind a stack of old takeout menus, I found a bank envelope addressed to Custodian of Ava Mitchell. Inside were statements with my name on them. My full name, Ava Rose Mitchell. And under the balance there were withdrawals. Big ones. Thousands at a time. I had carried the papers into the hallway and asked, Why is there money in my name? My father snatched them so fast the corner sliced my thumb. You went through private documents? They were in the kitchen. You are 15, he said, stepping closer. You don't know what you're looking at. My mother appeared in the bedroom doorway, pale and silent. Mom, I said, holding up my bleeding thumb. What is this? She didn't look at the blood. She looked at him. Then she whispered, Ava, let it go before things get worse. That was when I understood. My mother wasn't confused. She knew. Back in the courtroom, my advocate stood. Your Honor, I would like to review any documents connected to this trust account before the court considers removal. That has nothing to do with why we're here, my father snapped. The judge raised his eyes. My father softened his voice immediately. I mean, respectfully, this is about Ava's behavior. The judge tapped the printed screenshot. Then explain this. My lungs went cold. This message was allegedly sent from Ava's phone the night before your petition was filed, the judge said. But Ava claims you had possession of that phone. My father turned toward me. She lies when she's cornered. My voice came out small. You took it.
For discipline, he said.
Then how did I send that text? For the first time, nobody spoke. My mother's hand rose to her mouth. Her eyes filled, but she wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the man beside her like she had just realized the judge could see him too. My father opened his mouth. Before he could answer, my mother whispered, "Richard, don't." Denise's whisper was not loud, but in that courtroom, it landed like a dropped glass. My father turned his head slowly. His eyes cut toward her, and my whole body reacted before I could stop it. I flinched. The judge saw that too. "Mr. Mitchell," he said, voice flat, face forward. For the first time that morning, my father obeyed someone who was not himself. My mother's tissue shook in her hand. "I didn't mean—" "Mrs. Mitchell," the judge said, "you'll have a chance to speak." Then he looked toward the bailiff. "Bring in Ms. Harlan." My father's face tightened again. The door opened, and my school counselor stepped inside carrying a folder against her chest. Ms. Harlan was small, with silver glasses and the kind of shoes that squeaked on tile, but when she sat down, she looked straight at the judge. "Did Ava Mitchell come to you this week?" he asked. "Yes, Your Honor." "Was she angry?" "No." Ms. Harlan glanced at me, then back at him. She was frightened. My father let out a short breath. "Of course, she acted frightened. That's what she does." The judge looked at him once.
He stopped.
Ms. Harlan opened her folder. Ava asked whether a parent could spend money left in a child's name. She said she had found bank statements she wasn't supposed to see. She also told me her father had taken her phone and said he could have her sent away if she embarrassed the family. My father stood halfway. "That is completely false." "Sit down," the judge said.
He sat.
Ms. Harlan pulled out a sheet of notebook paper sealed inside a plastic sleeve. "She wrote this in my office before Mr. Mitchell filed the emergency request." The judge took it. My heart started pounding as he read silently. My father leaned toward his attorney's empty chair, then seemed to remember he had chosen to appear without one because he thought this would be simple. The judge read aloud. "I found missing account papers. My dad says nobody will believe me because I panic. I think he's going to make me look crazy before Monday." My mother made a sound like she had been hit. My father pointed at the paper. "She forged that." Ms. Harlan's voice stayed steady. "I watched her write it. She manipulates adults with that helpless act," he said. "The stammering, the shaking, she knows exactly how it looks." Heat rushed into my face. Until that moment, I had been trying to disappear into my chair. But hearing him use my own fear as proof against me made something inside me move. I stood. That was my surgery money. The words came out louder than I meant them to. Everyone turned. My father's face changed completely. Not anger. Not surprise. Alarm. The judge leaned forward. "Ava, where did you hear that phrase?" My mouth opened, but no sound came out. Before I could force the answer through my throat, the courtroom door opened. A clerk stepped in holding a sealed envelope. "Your Honor," she said, "this was just delivered from Carla Bennett, Ava Mitchell's aunt." The sealed envelope changed the air in the courtroom. My father did not even look at the clerk's face. He looked at the handwriting on the front, and the color drained from his cheeks. Carla Bennett. My aunt. My mother's sister. The woman my mother had not allowed me to call since Grandma died. The clerk handed the envelope to the judge. He looked at the name, then at my parents. "We're taking a short recess," he said. My father stood too fast. "Your Honor, this is unnecessary. My sister-in-law has been interfering with our family for years." The judge closed his hand over the envelope. "Mr. Mitchell, you and Mrs. Mitchell will not leave this courthouse." My father's mouth shut. That one instruction did what nothing else had done. It took the room away from him. The bailiff opened the side door, and everyone began moving at once. My advocate guided me into the hallway, one hand near my shoulder but not touching me, as if she already understood I needed space to breathe. I made it as far as the vending machines before my father appeared beside us. "Ava," he said softly. My advocate stepped forward. "Mr. Mitchell, you need to keep your distance." He smiled at her like she was a customer complaining about a bill. I'm speaking to my daughter.
No, she said.
You're speaking near a minor involved in an active hearing. His eyes stayed on me. You can still fix this, he said. Tell them you misunderstood the papers. Tell them you got scared and exaggerated. My fingers curled around the sleeve of my cardigan. I didn't. His smile did not move, but his voice dropped. You know nobody believes girls who panic on command. My stomach turned. Because that was it. That was the whole plan. Take my phone. Make me afraid. Push me until I shook. Then point at the shaking and call it proof. My advocate stepped between us fully. Back away now. For a second, I thought he might refuse. Then Ms. Harlan came down the hallway with another woman from the school office. My father looked past them, adjusted his jacket, and walked toward the windows like he had chosen to leave on his own. Ms. Harlan leaned close to my advocate and spoke quietly, but I heard every word. The school's IT office checked the login records. My advocate straightened. And the threatening emails attached to his petition were sent from Ava's school account, Ms. Harlan said. But the timestamps show Ava was in supervised testing when they went out. No phone, no laptop. Someone used her password remotely. The hallways seemed to tilt. My father had not just lied about me. He had built a version of me on paper and brought it to court. Every piece started locking together. The bank envelope. The missing statements. The phone in his truck. The emails. My mother's whisper. His rush to get me removed before anyone could ask why. The bailiff opened the courtroom door. All parties back inside. When we returned, the judge had already opened Aunt Carla's envelope. He was reading the papers slowly, page by page, and his expression had changed from careful to cold. My father sat down stiffly. My mother kept her eyes on her lap. The judge looked over the top of the documents. Mr. Mitchell, he said, do you still wish to testify under oath that your daughter is dangerous and delusional? My father swallowed. Then he said, yes. The judge pressed a button on his desk. Bailiff, he said, bring in the courthouse financial investigator. The door opened again, and this time, no one in the courtroom moved. A woman in a navy blazer stepped inside with a laptop tucked under one arm and a folder marked with the court seal. She did not look surprised to be there. She looked like someone who had been waiting for the judge to ask. My father stared at her. My mother's hands folded so tightly in her lap that her knuckles turned white. The judge looked at the woman. For the record, please state your name and role. Marion Cole, she said. Financial investigator assigned to juvenile and probate-related matters for this courthouse. My father stood. Your Honor, I object to this entire direction. We came here because our daughter needs placement, not because of some misunderstanding about family finances. The judge did not raise his voice. Mr. Mitchell, you asked this court to remove a child from her home based on claims of instability, threats, and violence. If those claims were made to conceal financial exploitation, then it is not a misunderstanding. My father sat down slowly. The judge lifted the first document from Aunt Carla's envelope. This court has received copies of the will of Eleanor Bennett, maternal grandmother of Ava Mitchell. Mrs. Bennett left protected funds for Ava Rose Mitchell to be managed by a custodian until Ava reached adulthood. My name filled the room differently than it had before. Not like a problem, like a person the law had been written around. The judge continued. The stated purpose of the funds was medical care, education, and housing support. Mr. Mitchell, were you the custodian of that account? My father's lips parted. Yes, he said. Technically. Not technically, Marion Cole said, opening her folder. Legally. The judge nodded for her to continue. Marion placed several pages on the evidence table. There were withdrawals over a 3-year period. They were labeled as expenses for Ava: therapy, medical equipment, tutoring, transportation to appointments. My mother made a small choking sound. Marianne did not look at her. But the receipts attached to those withdrawals do not support those labels, she continued. Several payments trace to Mitchell Contracting. 1 paid down a truck loan. 2 correspond to deposits on a home renovation. Another was coded as tutoring but went to a building supply vendor. My father's chair scraped the floor. That is not accurate, he said. I use my own money for Ava constantly. Food, clothes, doctor visits. You may explain that to the proper investigators, the judge said. Right now, you will answer only the questions asked. I stared at the papers. The withdrawals had dates, amounts, descriptions. Each one was a little piece of my life someone had turned into a receipt for something else. The judge picked up another page. Mrs. Mitchell, he said, were you aware that your husband was using Ava's trust account? My mother did not answer. Denise, my father said quietly. The judge's head turned. Mr. Mitchell, do not coach her. My mother pressed the tissue against her mouth, but it was already soaked through. I knew there was money, she whispered. My chest tightened. The judge waited. She looked at me for the first time since the hearing began. Her eyes were red, but she still did not say she was sorry. I didn't know all of it, she said. Richard said it was easier if Ava didn't know. He said she'd obsess over it. He said Carla would turn her against us. Aunt Carla's name made something twist inside me. The judge looked down at the envelope again. Ms. Bennett also included emails. Mr. Mitchell, these appear to show that she repeatedly requested updates on Ava after Mrs. Bennett's death and was told Ava did not want contact. My mouth went dry. I never said that, I whispered. My advocate touched the edge of the table. Say that again, Ava. I forced the words out. I never said I didn't want Aunt Carla. My mother started crying harder. The judge read from one of the emails. Carla, Ava is struggling and contact with you upsets her. Please respect our boundary. Signed, Richard Mitchell. My father rubbed both hands over his face. That was to protect the family, he said. No, the judge said. It appears to have isolated Ava from a relative who had knowledge of the trust. The courtroom went quiet enough that I heard my own breathing. Everything that had felt random suddenly had edges. My father had not brought me here because he was exhausted. He had brought me here because I found the envelope. He had taken my phone because I could call someone. He had filed the emergency petition because Ms. Harlan had listened. He had called me unstable because panic was easier to sell than theft. The judge turned to the printed screenshots. And the messages? Marian Cole opened her laptop. The school has already preserved login records. The alleged threatening emails submitted with Mr. Mitchell's petition were sent while Ava was in supervised testing. The messages from her phone are also in question due to Mr. Mitchell's admitted possession of the device during the relevant time frame. My father leaned forward. You are all taking the word of a 15-year-old girl who has emotional problems. For the first time, the judge's face hardened. No, Mr. Mitchell. I am looking at documents. My father had nothing to say to that. The judge lifted the will again. His voice slowed as he read one line aloud. For Ava, so she never has to beg the people responsible for protecting her. My vision blurred. I did not sob. I did not scream. I just sat there as tears ran down my cheeks and landed on the sleeves of the cardigan I had borrowed, because my mother said my own clothes made me look dramatic. Across the room, Denise covered her mouth with both hands. But I did not turn toward her. My father, who had entered court speaking for everyone, had gone completely silent. His confidence disappeared in small, visible ways. First his back curved. Then his hands stopped moving. Then his eyes dropped from the judge to the table. Finally, he said, I think I need an attorney. The judge closed the will. That would be wise. Then he looked at the foster placement officer. The emergency request to place Ava Mitchell in foster care is denied. For 1 second, I could not understand the words. Denied. Not delayed. Not reconsidered. Denied. The judge continued. However, due to credible concerns of financial exploitation, falsified evidence, and emotional coercion, Ava will not be returned to the custody of Richard and Denise Mitchell at this time. My mother gasped. My father looked up sharply. The judge did not pause. Ava Mitchell will be placed temporarily with her maternal aunt, Carla Bennett, pending further review. The trust account is to be frozen immediately. An independent guardian and attorney will be appointed to represent Ava's financial interests. The school is ordered to preserve all login records, emails, and device access information. This matter will be referred for investigation regarding financial exploitation of a minor, falsification of court evidence, and possible perjury. My father's face changed at the word perjury. Denise reached for him, but he pulled his hand away from hers. That was the first crack between them I had ever seen happen in public. The bailiff opened the courtroom door, and Aunt Carla stepped in. She looked older than I remembered from the few photos I had hidden in my desk drawer. Her hair had more gray. Her face was thinner. But when she saw me, she pressed a hand to her chest like she had been holding her breath for years. In her other hand was a folder. Later, I learned what was inside it. Birthday cards. One for every year since Grandma died. Cards I had never received because my parents had sent them back, unopened, or hidden them before they reached me. Carla did not rush me. She did not grab me or make a scene. She stopped a few feet away and said, "Hi, Ava." My voice broke. Hi. That was all I could manage. But it was enough. The aftermath did not end when court adjourned. My father's company began losing clients after the investigation became known among the same people who used to call him dependable. The man who had built his reputation on trust found out how quickly trust disappeared when court records started telling a different story. The truck he had bragged about became evidence. The renovation my mother had called Richard's best year yet became another line in a financial audit. Denise was granted only supervised contact. At the first visit, she cried across a table in a county office and said, "I didn't know how to stop him." I looked at the clock on the wall, then back at her. You could have told the truth. She had no answer. The story people told about me changed, but not all at once. Some neighbors still whispered. Some relatives tried to soften what my parents had done, calling it stress, confusion, a family matter that got out of hand. But the paperwork did not soften. The login records did not soften. The will did not soften. And neither did the judge's order. I moved into Aunt Carla's house the next week. My room was small and upstairs, with a slanted ceiling and a window that looked over a maple tree. The first night, Carla showed me the lock on my door and placed a new phone box on the bed. "This one is yours," she said. "No one takes it." I held it with both hands. At school, meetings changed too. Adults stopped talking about me like I was not in the room. Ms. Harlan sat beside me. My advocate helped me answer questions without rushing me. When I stuttered, no one filled in the words for me. They waited. The trust stayed frozen while the audit continued, but for the first time, I knew it existed. I knew Grandma had thought about my future. I knew Aunt Carla had never abandoned me. And I knew my father had not given me away because I was unwanted. He had tried to throw me away because I had become dangerous to his lie. The day my father told the judge I belonged in foster care was supposed to be the day he erased me. Instead, it became the day the court finally saw who needed to be removed.